Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to do a March review of all the books I read. I read 17 books and 5,665 pages. They were good. I had a few books I was just like basic, not great, but I had some pretty good books this month. The first book I read was, oh shoot, I don't have the cover for it because I got it as an ARC and the actual cover is not out yet. When the Ice Breaks by Sienna M.L. Gray. I gave that one 4 stars. That one, it's considered a dark romance. And I totally wasn't prepared for this book at all. Was not prepared. I got it, well, it was 668 pages. I did finish it in 2 days. I binged it because I was just like, I don't understand the first half of the book. The two main characters are just like so mean to each other. And you could tell that they really like each other. My gosh, I have a lash that's doing something funky. Okay, I think I'm good. So the first half of the book, I was just really irritated because they were just so mean to each other. And I was like, okay, you guys really love each other and your whole thing is miscommunication. You guys are being nasty. Like nasty. Like I would never act like that. I was just like, people, get your heads out of your ass and figure it out. Like, oh my God, I was having such a hard time. The second half was so much better because they finally realized it was miscommunication and they talked things through, and then they were just like together and they were processing through things. Do check trigger warnings. I don't really have any trigger warnings. But there is, substance abuse. There is physical abuse, like a touch of it, abandonment, kind of stuff like that. So if you don't like that kind of stuff, I wouldn't read this. Then I read Red Fox. It's the second book of the Experiment in Tears series by Karina Hale. I gave this one 4 stars also. And then right after that, I read The Benson. It's like 39 pages. It's a novella. I also gave that one like 3 stars. So I read Red Fox first. And it's following Perry and Dex, and they're now in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I mean, this girl, it's like one thing after another. She's getting hurt. Something is out to get her. And I'm just waiting for when they start getting together because I can't remember which book they finally get together in. And in this one, he forgets his medication and he's normal. He's like more normal than he normally is. And it was nice to see. And then in the novella, he went back on his medication. And I was like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? I was so frustrated. And I really was hoping that he would stop taking the medication because it's messing with him. And he realized in Red Fox, but yet why did he get back on the medication in the Benson? I don't know. But they are trying to like ghost hunt and do a little show out of it. But Perry really wants to like be able to help the people before they leave or help the ghosts move on. And Dex just doesn't care. And Perry really wants to at least help in some way. So in both of them, Red Fox and the Benson, they get to do that. And she feels very fulfilled in life when she was able to. Then I read another ARC, and it's called Blackthorn by Emily Eve, and I gave that one 4.75 stars. I think I gave this one the highest rated out of all the ones I read last month, and it's the highest rated one I did. And this one, I enjoyed the hell out of this book. I cannot wait for it to finally come out in a few days. I want to buy this book so bad. I am so excited. It's about, oh man, I don't want to give anything away. Bonnie is an assassin and she's supposed to kill somebody, but she ends up working with him. And oh man, I don't want to give anything away. It's good. The fighting scenes are good. The romance is good. You have to read this book. It is so I don't want to give anything away. I know me, I will give something away, and I'm trying very hard to be quiet, to not say anything. I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the next book because I really, really, really want to talk about that book and I don't want to ruin it. Um, then I read Redeemed, which is the last book of the House of Night series by PC Cass and Kristen Cass. And I don't think I'm going to be reading from either of them anymore. I loved these books like right out of high school, but for me, it's just not the same. I only gave it 3 stars. There were a lot of character growth with like villains in the past books that are no longer villains, and that was more meaningful to me than anything else that happened in that book. And I could really care less about anything else that happened. And I know they're started another series based off that one. They're like 4 books in. I don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. I liked how it ended, and I I don't know why they made another series, but I just think also too the writing style is just not for me anymore. So I will not be continuing on with PC Cast or Kristen Cast. Then I read Lucky Cupid by Sarah Blue. It's the second book in the Love and the Veil series. They're all little novellas, and I gave this one 4 stars, and I finished it in a day. I love the names that she comes up with them. So the Cupid in this book, her name is Juliet, and the Grim Reaper is Morse. So it's female, and oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. I loved this book to no end. I loved Morse so much because she just was down bad. I need a Cupid. I need a Cupid to show love. She didn't care about being loved. She wanted to love someone so bad. And Juliet, man, she kind of went through it. She's a new Cupid and she just thinks she's failing. She's not good at the bows and arrows and all that kind of stuff. But she grows into her own, and Morse teaches her a little bit more about how to be a Cupid, like how to put her wings away and everything. And oh my God, it was just so good. I loved every single second of it, and I cannot wait to read Daddy Cupid, which I'm going to read in June because for Father's Day. So then I read If You Give a Single Dad a Nanny, which is the first book of the Aspen Grove series by Anne Einerson. I accidentally read 2.5 in fall. So I wanted to read the series because the third one was coming out this month. I really liked Marlo. Marlo was really sweet and she's very artistic and she is young compared to Dylan. Dylan, I think he was like 32 and I think she's like 23, I think. And he's like part of a $1 billion business and he takes everything very seriously. He has a 6-year-old daughter. He wants to do everything right by her and like everything has to be done to a T. But like Marlo, I mean, she's just winging it big time. And watching them fall in love was the cutest thing. And I loved that her dog is named Waffles. I loved it. And I mean, this one and the second one were my favorites of the series, and I do recommend reading this series. Then I read If You Give a Billionaire a Bride. It's the second one of the series by Anne Einerson. I really was eating my words with this one because I didn't like that at the end of the first one, you already see that these two are married. So I'm like, wait a minute, like we're not going to see them like fall in love at all. I didn't realize it literally picks up with them being married in this second book because they just were drunk in Vegas and they got married. And so it's Everly and Cash. And they were like good friends in high school, but like her twin brother, which was his best friend, told Cash, she's off limits. You cannot be with her. But they make a marriage pact that if they're 30 and they're still single, they'll get married. Well, they're in Vegas, they're in their 30s, they're single. So they got married. And a whole deal is going down, so they can't get an annulment. And just the things he does for her. Oh my God. Acts of service, big time. He loves to buy her things. I mean, she's obsessed with shoes, and he buys her hundreds of them. Hundreds of them. It was so dang good. I loved this one and the first one the most out of the whole series. And then I read Your Rule to Break, which is the second book of the Play Caller series by Rachel LaBerge. I did really like this one. I I almost think I like it more than the first one. I don't know. I can't really say because I don't know. I liked both of them a lot. You're following Emily and Zach is funny as hell. He loves clothes and he loves food and he loves like making a joke and having a good time. And Emily, she has really bad like anxiety and OCD, and she's having a hard time with the fact that her sister is marrying her ex boyfriend, and it's in like Cabo or something. And there's no third act breakup in this one either, but stuff does happen, but it makes sense. And there was no hate really. It was like a lot of confusion. And then they immediately talked it out. I'm like, oh my God, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how things are supposed to be done. But he's a football player on the same team as the guy from the first book. And Emily is the assistant to the main girl in the first book. And Emily, she can never make her like mom happy. And it was so sad to see that. And Zach like hates it and he gets so angry and like possessive and protective and is like, well, if you want to treat her like that, well, then she's mine and she doesn't need to be near you. Like, does not want to put up with any of her family's crap. And like, she was excited when she found out he had a tattoo because she thought she could never get one because of her mom. And so he makes an appointment for her to go to get a tattoo. And that was the cutest freaking thing. I do really recommend this series because the third one is coming out this month. I'm pretty sure. We'll see. Then I jumped into my alien romance mood and I read Married to the Alien Cowboy, which is the Cowboy Colony Mail Order Brides, the first one by Ursa Dax. I gave this one 4.5 stars. It was so good. It was so funny. I was like rolling on the floor laughing, kicking my feet. I could not get enough. Could not get enough of this book. It was so hilarious with Cherry and Sylar. Sylar is a convict alien put on a planet and because he killed somebody before he even hit puberty. And the technically like the government thinks that because they've been there for so long, they're going to start like try to burn down the planet or something. So they're like, we'll just give them brides that don't really know actually that they're convicts that we don't care about and just give them brides so they'll be happy and they won't try anything. So Cherry is trying to run because she got money from somebody and they're after her. So she gets to the planet 3 weeks early and meets Sylar, and the things that happen. Oh my God, I was laughing. And there's so much miscommunication because they're different species. And she doesn't understand him very well, and he doesn't understand her very well. And it's total confusion. And I couldn't get enough of it. It was so good because right after that, I went right into Wrangled by the Alien Rancher, which is the second one of the series. And Fallon is the male in here, and he really wanted a bride. He wanted a bride so bad. He wants to love somebody, and he just wants to do everything possible for her. And Darcy, she went because her mom also like taught her like all you're really good for is being a wife and like how you're supposed to be a wife and how to be the perfect wife and all this stuff. And something happened with the fiance that she had on Earth, so she ran to here. And oh my God, their love story was so funny. I was rolling on the floor, kicking my feet, just like the first one. I mean, they both are 4.5 stars for me. I could not get enough, and I cannot wait to read the fourth one because oh my God, it is going to be good. And I really hope she comes out with more books in this series. I also like that he killed somebody and went to this place because somebody beat up a dog and he loved this dog. And she found out and she was like, well, where's the dog? And he goes, I have the dog. Like, I brought the dog with me. And he's like, she's like, what? And I just think it's so funny. And then they have all this cattle that they have to deal with. And they have these like monster, like snake things that come out of the ground. I don't even know. It's confusing, but oh my God, it's so good. So good if you want to have a silly, good, goofy, fun time. Oh my God, words. Then I read Resisting the Alien Rider, which is the third one in the series by Ursa Dax. This one, I think, was my favorite. I think because Garrick did not want a bride. He did not want a bride. They only brought enough brides for people that said yes to having a bride. He did not want one. Magnolia, all she wanted was to be loved, and she reads a lot of romance books, and she wanted to fall in love with somebody, and she wanted to be somebody's wife, and so she's supposed to be going to Oaken. Well, Oaken got hurt trying to get to her, so Garrick is asked to take her to Oaken. And there's another one there. It's his name is Killian. He's a convict ward, and Garrick is the one taking care of him. And they are traveling all three together with all of his cattle to Oaken. And oh my god, the things that happen along the way. Like, he knew immediately that he was gonna fall in love with her, and he was fighting it hard. And she didn't. She really was really excited to meet Oaken, but she started getting a soft spot for Garrick. And oh my god, it was so sweet. So sweet. And then the whole intimacy part, oh my god. They're funny, man. When they start getting into, I just want to laugh because it is hilarious. It is so funny. So then I read If You Give a CEO a Chance, which is the third and I possibly think the last book of the series by Anne Einerson. I gave this one 3 stars. This one was my least favorite. I didn't really see the romance between Fallon and Harrison. Fallon's a professional chef, and Harrison owns the $1 billion business that Dylan and Cash work at. It was their dad's business. And Harrison has celiac disease, and so he needs a personal chef to cook for him. So that's Fallon, and Fallon moves in with him, and the pranks were funny. I did like the pranks, but everything else, I wasn't a big fan of. I just, I don't know. I just didn't see why they were really together. I don't know. It was just like, it was miscommunication. And then once they talked it through, it was just like, boom, they were together. They never really talked about being together. I was just like, I was confused. But all in all, that series is good to read, especially like if you want like a break in between like hardcore fantasy. This is a good series to pop in between books. So then I did my reread of Swordcatcher, which is the first book of the Chronicles of Castellane by Cassandra Clare. I gave it 4 stars. It was read easier this time because it's so politic heavy, and I'm not used to books with a lot of politics, so it did take me a little while to understand what was going on. But this time it made a lot more sense because I already kind of knew who people were. I kind of already knew what was going to happen. So that did help. I really like Lynn. She's an Ashkar, and she's a doctor, but because of her being a woman, she's not allowed to get books. And I'm like, she's literally the best one out here, and you guys are going to deny her information. Like, that's bull. And then I really like Connor and Kellyan. I like to say Kel, though, but Connor is freaking funny. He uses humor to cover like his sadness, and he's the prince. And then Cal is his sword catcher. So if like they see that there's a threat against Connor, Cal is the one that goes out in his place, and nobody knows it's Cal. They all think it's Connor. So if anything were to happen to Cal, it happens only to Cal and not Connor, and Connor is safe. So that's kind of what's going on. And there's like a lot of deception going on. Kel is trying to figure it all out, and he's working with the Rag Picker King. And Marin, I love Marin. Oh my God, such a sweetheart. And he's like a professional poisoner. I'm like, oh my God, I just love you. I just want to hug him. I just want to hug him so bad. He is so sweet. And then I went straight into the Rag Picker King, which is the second book of the series. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I did like this one more. It had a little bit more romance in it. And especially between Lynn and Connor. And I was so happy that something finally happened. But man, technically there's like third act breakups kind of everywhere. I don't know. It's just chaotic. It's very intense. You find out a lot about the Rag Picker King towards the end. I was really curious in the beginning why it was even called that. Towards the end, you finally realize kind of like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. There is one character in this book that I'm actually not a fan of. What is her name? Antonetta. I don't know. I don't know if that's her name. Antonetta. Yeah, I'm not a fan of her. I don't know why. I just like, she pretends to be like a bimbo, and like I understand that, but like the way she goes about things, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense about how that even works. I don't know. And I'm not a fan of her. I've never really been a fan of her, not even in the other book. I really hope in this third one, like, she makes more sense as to why she's even in the book. But as of right now, I'm not a big fan of her. The last two books I read for the month is Some Like It Scott. I read it from NetGalley, my very first NetGalley book, and it's from Pepper Basham. Basham, I don't know. I give this one 4 stars. This is my very first Christian romance I have ever read. I didn't understand what the difference between Christian and contemporary romance was. I understand now, but it still was really good. Like, it did not bother me that there's no spice. There's no spice. She does mention like the man's shoulders and his eyes and how handsome he is and stuff like that, but she's never sexualizes him. And I really did appreciate that because some people don't do that. And it was really wholesome that she's 6'1" and she's a travel writer, and everything bad that can go bad goes bad. Like, she's accident prone, and that's how I am. I'm always doing something and falling or anything, and that's her. And I'm like, wow, I feel so seen in this book, like so seen. And he falls bad for her. He falls bad for her, and he has stuff he has to work through that she needs to work through a lot, and she opens up to him. And the way they deal with things is how adults deal with things. And it was really wholesome that they're working together to get through things. And it was just so sweet. It was so sweet. I highly recommend this book. It comes out on April 8th, but man, that one was good. That one was really good. Because then right after that, because I went from Christian romance to fantasy romance, because, gotta read some Dragon Shifters. It's Dragon Marked by Donna Grant. I did not realize when I started it that it was an interconnected standalone. I mean, I understood once I was in it a little bit more that it was, but it didn't bother me that I haven't read any of the other books because I was never confused. I knew exactly what they were talking about because the main girl, I'm not going to say names because it's not in the synopsis. The main girl, the FMC, she doesn't really understand what's going on. She's really confused, and she asks the MMC questions and he answers them. So that's how you're getting all this information about the world, and it all makes sense. But there's one villain plus like an evil entity that they're trying to get rid of because they're trying to make up for things that they've done in their past, and they feel like what they've done in their past is unforgivable. So they're working together to get rid of both of these. They get rid of one, and the way the book is left off, there should be more. I would assume so. I really hope I can get those two, but it was very good. I did really like it. I gave this one 4 stars, and she goes through a lot. It's really sad. The things that go through her brain and how she's just not worth it. And it was so heartbreaking, but she works through a lot of it. He works through a lot of his stuff too. And there's no third act breakup. A lot of other stuff happens, but there is no third act breakup, which I really did appreciate. But yeah, so those are the 17 books I read in March. I cannot believe I read 17 books in March. That's a lot. But I did really enjoy them. I did have a good time this month. And I just was on a reading kick. I just wanted to read as much as possible. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you come back for another video. And I just hope to see you next time. Bye.